Traitors. Unmasking the Chinese strategists behind Sanae Takaichi. Why did a Peking University star become an anti-China vanguard? Can you believe it? The set of anti-China theories spouted by Sanae Takaichi, the figure in Japanese politics who is shouting for a tough stance against China, denying the Nanjing Massacre, and even pushing Japan toward the brink of war, were not conceived by Japanese people themselves. The ones passing the knife behind the scenes are actually two individuals who were born and bred as Chinese. This is truly mind-boggling. How can people with the blood of the Yellow Emperor flowing through their veins commit acts more extreme than the far right? This is not just betrayal, it is a meticulously planned political sacrifice. This is a classic example of the convert zeal, or revert zeal, effect. It's like a sheep trying to join a pack of wolves. To prove its loyalty, it attacks its own kind with a savagery 100 times greater than a true wolf. The two men are Sherping, a high-achieving graduate from Peking University's philosophy department, and Akio Yaida, the descendant of a Japanese war orphan. They use their understanding of Chinese culture to turn that knowledge into precision-guided weapons for the Japanese right wing to attack China. It's not that they don't know the truth, they have turned selling out the truth into a VIP ticket for advancement in the Japanese political arena. Even more shocking is that this is not an isolated case but a complete, dark industrial chain. In today's rightward shift in Japanese politics, there is a business called China bashing. Sherping and Akio Yaida are the top salespeople in this business. By manufacturing panic and distorting facts, they have not only earned a huge fortune but have also become esteemed guests and national strategists for politicians like Sanae Takaichi. They have formalized betrayal into scholarship and packaged hatred as strategy. However, this conceals a massive geopolitical trap that will not only push Sino-Japanese relations into the abyss but also make the entire security situation in East Asia precarious. So, how did these two China hands, who once had promising futures, gradually turn into anti-China vanguards? How absurd are their statements? Why is the Japanese right wing so dependent on these two outsiders? Next, let us peel back the masks and examine the dirty dealings behind the scenes. Chapter 1: The Certificate of Submission. From a Peking University talent, Sherping's Twisted Path. The name Sherping is now highly recognized in Japanese right-wing circles. But decades ago, he was an epitome of excellence, an object of envy, a graduate of Peking University's philosophy department, the highest institution of learning that so many dream of. Yet, his education was utterly wasted. After acquiring Japanese citizenship in 2007, he chose the most extreme path to integrate into that exclusive circle, hating China more than the Japanese. He writes columns for ultra-right-wing media like the Sankei Shimbun, relentlessly churning out the China collapse theory. The most chilling example was during the Wenchuan earthquake. That was his hometown, Sichuan. Tens of thousands of compatriots died, the whole nation was grieving, and countries worldwide offered help. Yet this Sherping jumped out and advised the Japanese government not to provide any aid. What kind of mentality is that? This is no longer a difference in political stance. It is the annihilation of humanity. He even publicly denies the Nanjing Massacre. This act of trampling on a national wound to curry favor with his new masters is nothing short of a modern-day Han traitor. This reminds me of Miles Yu, the former China advisor to the Trump administration in the U.S. Both are highly educated intellectuals of Chinese descent who, to secure a foothold in foreign politics, transformed into the most aggressive anti-China advocates. In the political ecology of the West, such people are called native informants. Data from a study by the Brookings Institution shows that using individuals from the target ethnic group to attack their mother country has 35% greater public opinion lethality than using domestic politicians because they wear the veneer of knowing the truth. Sherping exploited this point, trampling his own dignity to gain a seat at the table of the Japanese right wing. Sherping's case profoundly exposes the ugly side of convert zeal in international political maneuvering. The underlying psychological mechanism is that, To gain acceptance and trust from the new group, the individual exhibits more extreme exclusiveness than native members. Sherping is not merely selling intelligence or opinions, he is selling his soul contract. His cold-blooded statement on the Wenchuan earthquake proves that he has completely stripped away basic human empathy for political gain. Although such people can be utilized by the Japanese right wing in the short term, over the long course of history, whether in China or Japan, such perfidious individuals will ultimately be nailed to the pillar of shame. Even his masters know that a person who can betray the land that gave him birth and nurtured him will betray his current master, if the stakes are high enough. Chapter 2: The Deep Cover of the Double Agent, Akio Yaida's Shadowy Spying. If Sherping is an openly malicious villain, then Akio Yaida, Jing Tao, is a venomous snake in the gutter. He has a complicated background. His father was a Japanese war orphan raised by Chinese farmers. Logically, this nurturing kindness that transcended national hatred should have made him a bridge for Sino-Japanese friendship. But what did he do? He returned to Japan at age 16, and later, he even disguised himself as a friendship advocate to pursue a PhD at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. The doctoral study was a sham. Gathering intelligence was the truth. After being expelled in 2019, he completely dropped his disguise. His current identity is not just a media person, he is a broker connecting the Japanese right wing and Taiwan independence forces. He publicly endorses Sanae Takaichi's extreme statements on various occasions, and even plots how to use the Taiwan issue to provoke China. His presence gives hardliners like Takaichi a theoretical basis. They think, look, even a Chinese expert says so, how can we be wrong in being anti-China? If we look at the history of the Cold War, Western intelligence agencies loved to recruit individuals with such dual cultural backgrounds. For example, Gordievsky, who defected from the former Soviet Union to the West, provided intelligence but spent his final years in Britain in loneliness and fear. In modern intelligence warfare in Europe and the US, using academic exchange to cover up espionage is an open secret. According to a report by the European External Action Service (EES), in recent years, over 20% of the cases involving the spread of false information have involved such double agents with transnational backgrounds. Akio Yaida is walking this old road, casting aside the kindness of his upbringing and treating China's tolerance as a loophole for intelligence gathering. Chapter 3: The Right Wing's Fig Leaf and Dangerous Complicity. Why do Sanae Takaichi and her allies need Sherping and Akio Yaida so much? Can't the Japanese right wing write their own material? Of course not. They need a fig leaf, a shield. When Takaichi makes inappropriate remarks about China that heighten tensions in Sino-Japanese relations, if any Japanese person questions her as being too radical, she can confidently push these two out. See, even experts of Chinese origin support me, which proves my judgment is accurate. These two are effectively political enforcers, carefully fostered by the Japanese right-wing forces. Their purpose is to make Japan's rightward drift appear rationalized. This phenomenon is not uncommon in Western countries. During the Brexit period, the far-right UKIP party heavily cited the statements of descendants of immigrants to attack immigration policies, creating the illusion that even insiders are opposed. In the US, certain anti-China think tanks, such as the Hudson Institute, are also keen to hire Chinese faces to publish the most aggressive containment reports. But huge risks lurk behind this. This co-conspiracy of mutual exploitation is pushing Japan toward a dangerous edge. The more extreme Takaichi's statements, the more resolute China's countermeasures will be. And in today's context of highly connected global technology and deeply integrated industrial chains, this artificially manufactured confrontation will not only undermine regional peace but also backfire on Japan's own economic development. This strategy of using Chinese to control China is essentially a manifestation of the Japanese right wing's lack of confidence. They cannot use legitimate logic and facts to support their radical expansionist ambitions, so they must resort to the mouths of traitors to mislead the public. This creates a dangerous echo chamber effect. Right-wing politicians, radical media, and these renegade strategists mutually validate and amplify biases, ultimately leading the decision-making level to severe strategic misjudgment regarding China. This is not only an irresponsibility toward history but also toward the future of the Japanese people. In a globalized era that advocates cooperation and development, this political alliance based on hatred and bias is bound to move against the current of history, and the result can only be shooting oneself in the foot. History has proven countless times that those who trade their homeland for glory and wealth never come to a good end. Sherping and Akio Yaida may see themselves as esteemed guests in the Japanese political scene, but in reality, they are merely disposable chopsticks in the hands of the right wing, to be used and discarded. The fire of hatred they instigate will ultimately burn down the very ground they stand on. Facing these clowns and the dangerous trends behind them, we must not only maintain a clear mind but also firmly support the state in taking strong countermeasures. Peace is not obtained through tolerance but through strength and boundaries. What are your thoughts on these two traitors who disdain their ancestors? Feel free to leave a comment and let us expose the true faces of these imposters.